Warning. This video contains the crazed ramblings of a mad game dev scientist. Watch at your own risk. So about 8 months ago, I made a short video about how my game was not very fun. Here's what's happened since then. In the video, I brought up two key issues with the game. One, it's boring just to be reading text, and two, it's difficult to navigate the world without visual cues. And I would add on to that there was also several back-end issues that would be difficult to build off of for the rest of the game's development. So, how did I go about fixing this? And the first thing I really started trying to do was get a visual map working, which I was able to do, though there was still some work needed to there. And some of the game's issues still remained within the writing department, and the longer I worked on it, the more I was seeing cracks come through. And after a couple weeks of a break to work on Copper 7 for the Pirate Software Game Jam, after coming back from that, I finally made the decision to pretty much scrap most of the work that I'd done and rebuild the entire game from scratch. So, as I was going into the process of rebuilding the source, there were a few key things that I wanted to make sure to do better. One, I wanted to make sure the design of the game on a technical level was going to be more scalable, so I can continue to work with what I built for the rest of the game's development. While the original version was alright, there were lots of just little things that needed substantial improvements to make work properly. And you have all these little things, and they stack up. The second thing I wanted to work on was I wanted to completely overhaul the game's writing. Because the game is a text adventure, so it's primarily interacted with through text. The writing kind of needs to be as good as it can be. The original writing wasn't horrible, but it definitely needed a lot of improvement. And to go along with this, the third thing I wanted to do was to work on the story structure and its characters. I felt that in order to make this game connect better with the player, I needed to make the characters, particularly the four titular sovereigns, I needed to make them a lot deeper characters. In the original game, it was a lot easier to get lost, particularly not so much in the demo, in the prologue section, but as I was working on the first chapter, where the game kind of is spread out a lot more, it became a big issue when it comes to knowing where you are in relation to other locations. It was just very easy to get lost, and so I wanted to fix that. And then finally, the fifth thing I wanted to make sure is to keep the overall soul of the original game. If there was anything I feel like I nailed on the head, it was the overall aesthetic of the game. To me, it felt good to play. The visual style I really liked, and I really wanted to keep the feeling as I worked on a new version of the game. So, let's dive into how I've been solving these issues and working to fix my video game. Part 1. Technical issues. So, the core of the source can be divided into 4 core parts. 1 is the C# scripts, 2 is Adventure Creator, 3 is prefabs, and 4 is scenes. And these 4 elements together make up most of the technical side of the source. At its core, the source is run using the Adventure Creator plugin for Unity, and much of the game's logic is handled by AC, or Adventure Creator. Use the terms interchangeably. So, things from like menus and dialogue, sound, player interactions, scene management, saving and loading, and a bunch more are done using the tools that AC provides, and it does provide a very robust tools, particularly for creating adventure games like this is. However, I also use a lot of my own custom-made C# scripts to build on top of AC to make the development of the source just a lot smoother on my side, as well as implement things that aren't part of AC and would just be very difficult to implement with AC. So my custom scripts handle things like my character memory system, achievements, controller support, various accessibility stuff, the map, and a whole bunch of other stuff that both ties into Adventure Creator directly and also stands separately from Adventure Creator. Both of these required a fair amount of work to improve going in from the original game. A lot of the actual custom scripts that I had made, I was able to pour over to this new version, and with some tweaks and edits, I was able to kind of make them a bit better. And of course, on the Adventure Creator side of things, I pretty much just rebuilt everything from scratch to make everything just a little smoother, a little better. Part of doing this was optimizing the way that I had prefabs and scenes structured. Previously, I was a little more willy-nilly with the way I had all that structured. It was somewhat disorganized, and so right now I'm trying to be a lot more careful and organized in the way I handle scenes and prefabs, particularly, so that way I can reuse various elements between scenes and levels just a lot easier. Part 2. Writing. Because the source is a text adventure game, you would hope that the writing is pretty dang solid. And the original writing was decent, but it definitely needed a lot of improvement. And this by far took the most amount of time and effort to fix. Using the original scripts as a baseline, I rewrote the entire game's dialogue, refining the lore and the characters. The new dialogue in the game, I think, is a lot better than the original version. There's a fair amount of general improvements to the prose of the game, and the story I feel is being told in a more coherent way. Also did a lot of work on the character writing. A lot of effort has gone into exploring the characters of the source, on my part, figuring out who they are, their goals, their desires, what they think of themselves and the world around them, how they interact with each other, etc., etc. Using that, I think I've vastly improved upon the original character dialogue. And beyond that, I've also put a lot of work into branching dialogues depending on the specifics of how you interact with characters. A lot of the branching is fairly small, but I feel it does a better job at immersing the player into the world and making the experience feel a little more personal. Part 3. Navigation. Really simple fix for this. A map. Who would have thunk? Just the oldest trick ever, right? Instead of using text to navigate, go north to this location, go east to this location, go south to this location. Instead of doing that, I have a visual map. So basically you just click, in the list of stuff you can do, it just says open map, you click that, map comes down, and you can use that to navigate around, which makes it a ton easier to understand where you are in relation to other places, makes it a lot harder to get lost. It just overall is a much better way of doing things. Once again, this game is a text adventure, but part of the idea was that I would be improving on the text adventure formula, adding a fair amount of modern conveniences and whatnot to the game. So I think that this is one of those things where I'm going to deviate from the classic text adventure to provide some more modern conveniences. Part 4. AI. This is a little more serious of a discussion I want to have, because as a creator, I want to be transparent in how I make my content and my games. And so I want to take a small moment here at the end of this little video to discuss and talk about AI and how it's been used in my projects and in the development of this game in particular, and how I'm using it moving forward. So the first thing is, I am not great at drawing people. It's just not one of my strong suits right now, and while I am practicing and getting better, I have a long way to go. And because of this, in the original version of the game, the character portraits were traced off of AI images that I generated. And at the time, I didn't feel super great about it, and I've continued to just kind of feel a little icky about it. And so I am committing to move forward without using AI art. This is one of the big reasons why all of the character portraits were completely redrawn. Beyond just making improvements to their designs, I wanted to make them without AI. And I could have very easily just pulled over the original versions and used them in this new version of the game. I did that with a lot of code, for example, and a lot of other art assets that I did make myself without AI. But I didn't want to do that for these, because while they weren't AI images specifically, they were traced off of them. And so I just don't feel good about using them. And so that's why I redrew them. And I want to be able to confidently say that this game is made by human hands, with a human mind, and is not just using assets that are made by typing into a text prompt. Now, the other part of development where I used AI was in making my character memory system. I talked about the making of this in some now privated videos about how I used ChatGPT to help me build some of the more complex parts of the system that I just had no clue how to build. Now, I don't have any plans to rework that system. I'm planning on just using it as it is, and I don't feel too bad about that. However, I am committing to not use any AI tools for programming or writing in the future. Same with AI art. I use these for some very particular points in development. The code that I used, I am going to be keeping and continuing to use. The art, I am not. But moving forward, I just won't be using AI. Making sure that my work is produced ethically is something that's important to me. I want to feel good about what I make and how I'm making it. And I want you guys to feel good about what I make and how I'm making it. And I believe that excluding AI is a part of that. I don't think AI really provides many benefits in the creative space. But I also believe that part of producing content and games ethically is being upfront with my community. And I would say it's even more important. So that's part of why I made this video, particularly this ending part of the video. And I really want to thank you all for your continued support, for those who watch my videos and play my games. Thank you very much, and I hope that you continue staying with me on this journey. I can't do anything without a community. If no one's playing my games, then there's not much I can really do as a creator. So it's you guys that support me in this journey. And so I thank you for that. Conclusion. So, did I do what I ultimately set out to accomplish? Yeah, I believe so. While the game certainly is not in a perfect state right now, it is leagues ahead of the original version, and that's all I really feel I need. Improvement. I think in game development, or any art, really, it's incredibly easy to get caught up in a need for perfection, which is unattainable in the end. Nothing I make will ever be perfect, only good enough, and sometimes less than good enough. But if I'm improving on my past work, then I'll be at least mostly happy. And hey, if you haven't yet, check out the new demo for The Source. It is up on Steam right now, link will be in the description. It is pretty decent, it's not too long. And I'm really proud of it, and so check it out if you have the time. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to do all the YouTube stuff like liking and subscribing, etc, etc, etc. Algorithm stuff, share, yada yada yada, whatever. Just thank you for watching, tuning in. That's all I really have to say for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Farewell!